Hi, welcome back to Materials and Me. Materials being the study of stuff, and me being Freya, a guest today on Ire's interview of placement students. Woo!
Hello, my name is Iri. This is my channel, and I did my year in industry at Reaction Engines in Column.
Hi, my name's Jack Mitchell. I am currently in my fourth year at the University of Sheffield studying material science and engineering, and I've just come back from a industrial placement year at Husco International.
So, who is Freya?
Freya is. I'm a third year material science student at the University of Sheffield, and I've just finished my placement year, and I worked at two different companies, Chimera Fabrics and Alpkit.
So I found them online. So I think I was using, it might have been Gradcracker or one of the other university job sites. Got a phone call, I think around, must have been January time, I think. Got a phone call saying that they'd like me to go down to Runcorn, which is where their site was, and do an in-person interview day. Which is why I chose them in the end to go there on my placement, because it was the only one that did an in-person day. They gave us a tour around the factory, told us all about kind of the history of the company, everything they did, why it was a good company to work for, and they really, really sold it on that day, getting us there, giving an opportunity. They brought in they had a mini excavator, so they've got a dig site on the company property itself, and to get us kind of involved in the whole idea, we got to have a go on an excavator, which was brilliant fun, even if I was acting like a 10-year-old. But yeah, went really, really well.
The year in industry team actually sends out weekly emails to us with like different job adverts that we can like apply to, and Reaction Engines was one of them. So yeah, I found it through uni technically.
The original intention was to work at one place for the full year. So I had organised to go out to Arc'teryx in Vancouver. However, they decided not to run the placement in March kind of time. So then during like my summer exams, I was like last minute panicking trying to find a placement. And normally you'd look on places like Gradcracker, and I actually ended up looking on Indeed, which is like where you'd search for full-time job roles. And at this point, I saw that Chimera was advertising a range of different roles for like lab assistant, technical development assistant, and so I wrote to them like as a speculative approach and explained what I could offer them, that I was going to be working. I needed to try and work for a year, and they got back to me and they were really keen. And I went through a range of interviews with them and ended up working as an innovation assistant in the innovation team. So Alpkit actually started out as a summer job. I was just working at one of their stores. Alpkit is like an outdoor brand, a British-based premium outdoor brand. So I was working in their Hathersage store as a summer job. And then in January 2023, I reached out to them to ask if I could get some experience working in their repairs department and learn some skills from their design team and sort of see both sides of a textile and design industry, and that's how I got to work with Alpkit.
So I was working as a manufacturing process and controls engineer. So I was essentially helping out with all of the 12 manufacturing production cells at Husco. I was essentially doing a mixture of maintenance work, design work, and production management across those cells. Starting off, when I first moved in, I was helping produce a series of SOPs and reorganize the e-controls production line, which is one that they just incredibly recently put in, and that developed into my main project for the year that ended up essentially learning Creo from scratch to being at the point where I'm mediocre, if I can sling that on the CV, but getting to a good point enough on there to redesign their Metcosh basket system. So essentially a series of baskets that then had inserts that slot inside to be used in their wash cell, which without that, pretty much their entire production line would go down, as they needed to wash all of their products before being combined and put together.
Reaction Engines actually started off trying to build this rocket engine. This rocket engine that was going to be powered by hydrogen, and so that was one of the first things I was like introduced to, hydrogen embrittlement. So the company already has quite a lot of like research into this topic, but I was fortunate enough to work on it as well. And so apart from obviously learning what it was, I also like provided like a literature review, which was then shared externally, which was really cool. And then I was also allowed to like project manage a particular section of the like technology development, which was to prepare some samples to be tested in hydrogen. And so that meant that I was working with procurement, design engineers, and like obviously giving them the dimensions I want, the standards we're using, that kind of thing. And then I also worked on this thing called the Foils project, which was battery cooling technology for like to be used in electric vehicles. And so because of that, for this product, like permeability was quite important, permeability and porosity. I was responsible for like the permeability rig. So like conducting tests, doing data analysis. I think with the Foils project, I would say that's when I got to do a lot of lab work, which was pretty cool. I also learned how to like mount and grind and polish samples to then look at it through a microscope. Like we'd learned about it in class, but I hadn't like done it for myself. So now I can say I know how to grind and polish samples.
Whilst I was at Chimera, I worked on a range of projects, one of them being looking at recycling textile waste and ways that we could upcycle textile waste. There was a branch out company called Inuio, which stands for It Is Never Over Until It Is Over, and that was the company that focused on upcycling waste yarn into like new fibers. Like they would break it down to then respin into a new fiber that we would put into some of our fabrics to increase the recycled content. That was really fun. I got to make new colorways for that, then experiment with that. I actually reached out to another company called Anglo Recycling to look at needle punching and making felts for carpet underlays as a way of using that waste, and you don't have to sort it. It's just being used as like insulation, as like a sort of mechanical way of upcycling it rather than like reprocessing it. That was really interesting. And another thing that we did there was look at making it a monomaterial. So we got to run some tests making different types of scrims and meshes on the looms, which was so fun, and I learned so much about the textile industry, which was a complete like eye-opener. And then with Alpkit, I was working in the repair station, and I fixed multiple repairs from a range of different clothing brands, got really good insight into what's going wrong with people's gear and how to look after people's gear. I did lots of like community outreach projects. I worked with like rainbows and brownies and did like little talks to them about sustainability, which was really fun. I did like mobile repair workshops and went to festivals and climbing competitions and had a little stand and did repairs. I went on work trips to Scotland, and I am now doing a project with the Scottish Canoe Association making gear for disabled paddle sport users, trying to make it more accessible to them at a better price point so they feel more inspired to buy the kit themselves and get out independently. And also now I'm doing my final year research project with Alpkit, which is super exciting. I'm going to hopefully do a life cycle analysis for the Sigma jacket, and it's going to be hopefully impactful because currently there's only one life cycle analysis publicly available, and
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your patient?
I'd probably say it started at about maybe a 6, I'd say. But by the end, I'd probably say a good 7.5, 8. I think at the start it was quite slow, and because it was the fun of having a manager that's incredibly busy, and therefore you kind of had less to do and struggle a bit. But by the end of it, because I've been given my main project and was given the opportunities to work with a number of guys across quite a few departments, I was really, really busy and feeling really involved.
I would honestly rate it a 9.5. And this is not to say that it wasn't amazing, but I was commuting for like 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 2 to 3 times a week. So that kind of put a dent in the experience. But all in all, like actually working at Reaction Engines was great. with everything you know now,
Mhm.
how would you rate your placement year?
Amazing. 10.
Something that I wish I would have known before going on placement was, at least for myself, my CV and cover letter skills. So they had gone over it, and there was the opportunity to go into the year in industry team to get things edited, and I did speak to them about my CV, but it's crazy how quickly you can realize it's outdated. I had a free day whilst on placement, and spent a good 3 hours just working on my CV to make it better, to include more information, to condense down bits that maybe weren't quite so important. And it's made such a difference. I've gone from applying for placements and hearing back from a few to applying for grad schemes and hearing back positively from so far every single one. So putting the time and effort in to really kind of hone exactly what you want to do in your CV. And cover letters, they're so simple, but it's that little bit of personalization for each one, going into a little bit of detail about the company, taking the time and effort to look in and go, oh, I'm interested in this area, and naming something specifically.
I would definitely say keep a diary. Uni asked us to reflect halfway through our placement, and obviously at the end we made an end of placement like report. But I feel like it would have been good for me to sort of keep a diary, maybe even a monthly one, to just like be able to reflect on what I had achieved so far, what I found hard, what I wanted to accomplish in the next month. I think being able to look at something like that would have been very useful. Like I know, obviously, I know all the things I've achieved in the year, but to be able to look at my progression, I think would have been better for me. Like to know, oh, in September I accomplished this, in October I accomplished this, in November, like that. So I think keeping a diary is something I wish I did.
Go into it with more confidence. Like, they want to have you. You're super young and enthusiastic. Don't feel like, oh no, I don't know what I'm going to be able to give. I don't have any like industrial knowledge. They'll teach you everything that they want you to know. Just go into it knowing that you're going to bring them so much energy into the company. Like, you're going to do great. You'll be fine. I would also, one more thing, just say, like, really prepare for the fact that a 9 till 5 is a very big change to uni, and it's going to be really tiring. So don't overwork yourself outside of like work time, and really make sure that you relax between shifts and like take some time for yourself over the weekend rather than burn yourself out.
So I was quite fortunate in the fact that one of the other guys on placement was moving into was doing the same placement as myself, and we were both at uni. He's doing aerospace, and obviously I'm doing materials. So we found a student accommodation building in Chester because it was an easy train link in, and yeah, made life really easy.
Well, first of all, the biggest difference in terms of like commitment, 9 till 5 is a huge difference. Like, yes, lectures feel like 9 till 5, but with lectures, it's you get out what you put in. But with work, like a working life, it's very much no one cares if you're tired. You've got your job to do, sort of thing. I would say that the biggest things that sort of drive industry for me that I experienced that are very different to sort of the routine of a uni life is we were very focused on this thing called a critical path, and that's what sort of drove our day-to-day tasks, and we would constantly be referring back to a critical path. And it was really cool. Like, we'd have meetings across the departments, which obviously you don't really get to do as a student. You're very much learning a specialism and working solely with material scientists, but in industry you're collaborating with lots of other different departments, which is really interesting and fun.
Probably the amount of time you'd need to spend whilst actually at work. So because uni's quite a varied structure, so you can you'd have kind of a lecture, have 2 hours out, say, have another lecture, that kind of thing. Being you go in 9 till 5, that's your day, then you go home and you just enjoy your evenings. That was a massive change, but it's been really, really useful for third year, and has really put me in a good structure of getting everything done. And I'm essentially running 9 to 5, kind of 10 to 6 days now anyway. Probably that, and enjoying your weekends. You don't quite realise how valuable your weekends are until you don't have to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get a 20-minute train and a half an hour walk to work. the freedom is amazing. So you definitely learn to value your free time more because you have considerably less of it.
It's time. I know like Freya and Jack said that as well, but you really don't appreciate the amount of like flexibility that you have at uni, like until you're working. Somebody's year-long holidays that they can book, we have that in like just a fraction of the school year, and then we have like a 3-month summer holiday. Like, so I think the biggest difference between industry and uni for me was time. Another thing about like industry versus uni was the fact that, like, I don't know why, but I think it's because of the way like my cohort is, but the ratio of women to men in materials I think is a decent proportion compared to other like engineering fields. But I was working in an aerospace company, so I did notice that there were a lot of times where I'd be like, oh wait, I'm there's one of me in this room, basically. Like like we're not even talking about like being black, like just being female. So that was interesting. I never did feel uncomfortable. It was just one of those things where it's like, oh wait, like there's all guys. With everything you know now, would you do a placement year again?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. I hope listening to like my experience, Jack's experience, and Freya's experience of doing a year in industry has inspired you to do one, or maybe like make you consider doing one, or just have an appreciation for what it is and the benefits that like you can get from it and the experiences you can have while on it. Yeah, I wanted people to have a better understanding of like what we actually did, how we felt about it, and not just get my perspective, because yeah, I had the cool experiences, but Freya's was really cool as well, so was Jack's. So yeah.
If you've made it to this point in the video, good on you, good on me. Let's keep doing this.
10 out of 10. Would do it again, would recommend to a friend. Go do placements, everyone.
Sorry, you're recording.
Yeah.
Oh.
And a chicken dinner? Chicken and chips?
So I also just wanted to ask, like, how did you get this gig? Like, how are you recruited to like be one of the, lucky people to be interviewed?
I'm just friends with Eri. Everyone becomes friends with Eri. She's a great person.